Good afternoon, everybody. This is Don Suff from Grand Junction, Colorado. Over the past few days and weeks, I've been posting videos, and now looking back on it, it seems like it's musings or reminiscences of the past. But it was really talking about things that we've learned over the years from different things that have happened. And so I've talked about hurricanes and the fact that, once you get past any fear that you might be having about hurricanes, you move into preparedness. Talked about experiences with HIV where we learned about universal precautions and how you really treat any infectious disease in very similar ways based on transmission. And today I wanted to talk some about, they were called blue laws. Now, many people who are much younger than me would have no idea what a blue law is. Blue laws were simply laws that limited activities that you could participate in on Sundays. It was religious in nature at the very beginning, but it was also secular. And what would be limited? Well, restaurants were closed, stores were closed. Really, the only things that were open were things like churches on Sundays, and the rest of your day, if you went to church, you went to church, and then the rest of the day was being at home, watching television, going out on rides in the afternoon. We would lived in Baton Rouge, and so we would go out into the countryside and drive around. Those were Sunday drives. That's where that term comes from, and that meant that life wasn't very convenient. We didn't have Starbucks back then, but if we had Starbucks, then you don't get Starbucks on Sunday. You didn't go grocery shopping. And so if you didn't have a certain item, you were out of luck until Monday. None of us starved to death, and we never ran out of toilet paper. It was more of from Monday to Saturday, you knew these were the days that things were open. And that's when you did your shopping. And so we didn't, on Sunday, when you ran out of toilet paper, you were just out of luck if that happened. But very rarely would that ever happen because we knew that from Monday to Saturday, we had the opportunity. Now, we don't have blue laws anymore. I wonder what would it be like now if we had blue laws where our ability to shop was limited to 6 days out of the week. Well, blue laws are no longer with us for the simple fact that slowly but surely those laws were eroded. And if I remember correctly, and friends of mine from the South, you can correct me, the last of the blue laws were actually involving the buying and selling of liquor. Well, why did that law go away? You couldn't buy or sell liquor on Sundays. Well, why did it go away? Well, from my recollection, it was because of casinos. When we voted the casinos in, the way that their charter and their rules were, you could purchase liquor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's the way that it was. And business owners believed that that was unfair, that they had an unfair advantage. And so it may have been a lawsuit or may have been they just had the clout to change the laws. And the last of the blue laws went away. So that now in Louisiana, you can purchase alcohol every day of the week. And depending upon your town, you can find liquor stores that are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if I'm incorrect about that, please let me know. But now we live in a world of convenience. I'll give you an example. We were out doing a supply run on Sunday, and it's like, okay, it's a little bit later in the day. It's afternoon, and feeling a little tired. So I think I want some coffee. So I got on my handy dandy phone and I downloaded Starbucks' app, and I ordered coffee from my phone, and then we picked it up through the drive-through. Now, that's convenient and that's awesome. However, based on past experience, it's completely unnecessary. I could just as easily have waited till I got home to drink some coffee. I could have very easily have done my supply run on Saturday. So there's some costs that come with these conveniences. To be honest with you, I miss the blue laws. I miss the blue laws because we knew that regardless of what occupation you were in, there was one day out of the week that was for rest. We think of religion and we think of religious. We think of the Sabbath and it's like, okay, that's a religious thing that we're engaging in. If we choose to engage in that, the reality is Sabbath is a day of rest. Period. And so we knew if you worked at a restaurant, Sunday was one of your days off. You didn't have to worry about coming into work. You didn't have to worry about being called in if it was your day off. It was, this is a day off. And then we'd gone to a 40-hour work week by then, so you got another day off. So 2 days off during the week. One of them was definitely Sunday. And so it was a day of rest for everyone. And we think of convenience and we think of how wonderful it is for us. Well, I'll give you an example of a business that at one time thought about going to 6 days a week, if not 7, and that was banks. And they were like, we want to provide for our customers, and our customers want Saturday banking. Well, what they found was it was not very it was very expensive to add that one extra day. Same thing happened with the mail service. It's like, okay, we need to expand the hours. But when they actually did this or considered doing this, they found it to be cost prohibitive. Because as much as people said, we want these things, they didn't take advantage of it. They didn't take advantage of it. So here we are, we're in a 7-day-a-week consumption society, and we think that we absolutely need this. Back in the day, when everything was closed on Sundays, we just made do. Now, if you decided to bring back the blue laws and no longer allow businesses to be open on Sundays, we're going to have panic because we're no longer in that preparation mode. And I believe that as we move out of the COVID-19 virus situation, and we will, we're going to have to do some things differently. Now, everybody talks about the new normal. I'm not a big fan of the word new normal. I resist that. This is not the way I want to operate my business. This is not how I want to interact with other people. This is not my new normal. As soon as this is over, I will return to my normal. This is the situation during a crisis. And I engage and act in certain ways because of this. But once this is over, I return back to where I was with some changes. Now, one thing that I've heard and I very much appreciate it is people are saying, I'm going to be more prepared. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. Have extra food in your pantry. Have extra water. All of those are good things. Never going to argue against it. If that's part of your new situation when you move out of COVID-19, then that's fine. I know in my office, I'm going to bring in extra cleaning stuff, and I'm going to have gloves and masks on hand. And that's just for preparation. I'm not expecting, I'm not wanting this to happen again. Chances are they will. Another thing that hopefully people will consider that their new normal will be, or their new situation will be, is they'll take better care of their bodies. Because one thing that we're positive about is if you take care of your body, you are more resistant to viruses. Think about it this way. If I'm taking care of my lungs and I'm taking care of the areas of my body where viruses have a tendency to settle into, and I do the things that I need to do, those viruses are less likely to take hold. And I can resist those viruses. I can resist those bacteria. The reality in our America in pre-COVID-19 days is that people were not taking care of their health very well. I'll give you an example. After working in the health field for a while, one of the things that I know is that the elderly population is very susceptible to urinary tract infections. In fact, at certain ages and at certain levels of health, it's a death sentence. And UTIs can be taken care of by antibiotics if it's bacterial, and by taking care of the urinary tract infection by drinking enough water and things like cranberry juice. They're preventable. And yet, by the time they start showing symptoms, many times it's too late. Another issue with the elderly population is you hear about people breaking their hips. Well, I fell and broke my hip. No, that's not how it works. In the elderly population, what happens is they move in a certain way, they break their hip and they fall. So the hip break happens before. And then there's other things that are going on in our society that contribute to our susceptibility to viruses and bacteria. And if we work on these things, if we act on these things, then we decrease the chances of a pandemic like this occurring again, or at least here in America. I would hope for the world, but we can only take care of our backyard. And the world's got to figure out how to take care of itself. All right. So the blue laws to me are about preparation. It's just having the forethought to say, I need this at this time. It's not going to be available at that time. I need to take care of it now. And so, I'd love it if we enacted blue laws. I thought it was great. Having Sunday off and not worrying about, going out and consuming something. I'm absolutely positive that not everybody's going to be on board with that. But if we can just adopt that mentality of preparedness, then it's going to make things like this a lot easier for many people. And maybe possibly we'll have less of the panic that occurs. All right, so those are just some thoughts. Hopefully they're more than reminiscences about, how it used to be. Don't we just hate it when our grandparents do that, about talking about the good old days? And they're just lessons that we can learn and that we can take away so that we can reduce the anxiety and fear that we're experiencing right now. All right, so everybody be well, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again.